What's up, guys? It's your boy Taiwan, and we back at it again. It is a beautiful rainy day here in Houston, Texas. Even though it's raining, I still enjoy it. But something I want to talk to you about. Your boy is going to get back into public speaking. That's right. We're going to get back into this thing. Follow me. We're going to talk more about it.
So back to what I was saying. Could be us. Could be us. Say please.
Was actually pretty amazing. First time being there. Cocoa, crepes, waffles, and coffee. I had the banana and spiced apple crepe. It's pretty good. 2 thumbs up. Now let's get back to our regularly scheduled program. What's up, guys? So let's get to it. Let's get to the purpose of this video. Taiwan, you used to be a public speaker? Yes, I did. A lot of you that met me in Texas, that didn't know me before I moved here, I used to public speak, but we called it something differently that you may not be quite familiar with. It started off as me being a deacon, and then into a minister, and then from a minister I went into elder, and no, I went into youth pastor. Then from youth pastor I went into being an elder, and then from an elder I went into being assistant pastor, and from assistant pastor I became a full-blown pastor. Wow, mind blown. You didn't know that about me, did you? Yes, that used to be my previous life. It could be anywhere from 5 to 10 people that I stood in front of and spoke, all the way up into the biggest stage that I took was at a church in Beloit, Wisconsin called Central Christian, and they seat about 1,400 people. And I would never forget the feeling of that, of standing in front of that many people and being able to speak. And it was so crazy to where after it happened, we would go to the local stores in the city and people would come up to me and be like, "You changed my life. You impacted me by what you said." And I'm looking at this person like, "Who are you?" "Oh, I heard you speak at Central Christian Church." And this would happen to me over the next 30 days after that platform. This kept happening. It was the craziest thing to me. But I had no idea that it would be one of the catalysts that would be used to launch me back into where I am getting ready to go. With that being said, what does all of this mean? Tell you a quick story. Last year in November, I was training a client, and this client told me 3 things. He actually asked 4 things of me. He said, "Taiwan, I want you to do something for me going into 2019. He said, "I want you to write down what your purpose is. I want you to figure out what makes you different from everybody else and your why." And then he said, "The last thing I want you to do is I want you to write down what your goal income is for 2019. And a few of those questions I could not answer. And the one that bothered me the most was, what is your purpose? I know what my passion is. Fitness is my passion. But I could not answer the question of what my purpose was. And he said, "Taiwan, when you find these answers out," he said, "that income that you wrote down, once you figure these answers out," he said, "you're going to look at that income and it is going to be way too little when you find out what your purpose is. Wow, mind blown. This bothered me so much that I cannot answer the question of what my purpose was in life. So, by chance, if you will, I was listening to a motivational speaker. I don't remember if it was Tony Robbins or Les Brown. But upon listening to them, one of them said that anytime they needed clarity, they needed direction in their life, that they would sit down and meditate. And they would go over positive affirmations early in the morning. So I adopted this habit to the point to where I was getting up every single morning at 4:30 a.m. The first thing that I would do is I would wake up and I would walk into the kitchen and I would make me a cup of tea. And I would go sit in my office and I would repeat and meditate these positive affirmations for about 20 minutes. And I did this, and then guess what happened? So before I tell you what happened, I need to give you a quick little backdrop so you can see exactly where I'm coming from and what I'm talking about. If you don't know me, I got married when I was 18 years old. Never recommend anybody getting married at 18 years old because you don't even know who you are yet, and you cannot consciously or intellectually make a choice to marry somebody for the rest of your life, and you don't even know who yourself is. You haven't even figured out what you want in life. And I get your mama got married at 18, and your grandpappy got married at 18, and your great-great-granddaddy got married at 18, and they stayed together for 92 years and 6 months. That's all right. That was back then. This is now. Things are different now. We have access to so many things. It's so many things that go on that wasn't 50 years ago, 100 years ago. So I don't recommend anybody. I tell my daughters all the time, do not get married at 18 years old. Live your life, create you a career, and figure out what you want to do and who you are, and then you can think about bringing somebody into your life. So yes, I got married at 18. All was well in the beginning, and for time's sake, because I don't want to bore you, for time's sake, all was well in the beginning, and by the time I hit 26 years old, this was now 8 years into marriage, I'm like, this is not something that I want anymore. This is my mind change. I grew. I began to look at things different. My vision began to expand. I wanted more out of life, and I'm like, I don't know if this is what I want. So when I hit 27, the same thing. I hit 28, the same thing. I hit 29, still did not change. I hit 30, still did not change. But the life-changing moment came for me when I heard a lady. She had been married for about 18, 19 years. And she said, I would have divorced my husband a long time ago, but my mama told me that if I get a divorce, I'm gonna go to hell. So she stayed married to somebody that she did not want to be married to because her mama told her she was going to go to hell. So she chose to be unhappy because she was scared she was going to go to hell. And that was a life-changing moment for me. At 30 years old, I said, there's no way that I'm going to continue life and be in a situation that I'm unhappy with. And I made a choice to leave. Taiwan, where are you going with this? Just stick with me for a little longer. It's important that you know the backdrop. So I did leave, but I'm a real dude. I'm gonna keep it real with you. During the end, when I was already checked out, I ended up making some poor choices. Got involved with somebody while I was still married, while I was still pastoring. And if I could go back and change it, I would. But the fact is, I did it and I own up to it. So with that being said, I then had to hold a meeting and to let everybody know that I was pastoring, that, hey, I made some poor choices. I need to sit down. I can't stand up before you every Sunday and every Tuesday and Wednesday and speak to you about what the Bible says, and I got things in my life that I need to fix. And I had this meeting. I owned up to my faults. I owned up to the things that I did wrong, and I set out a clear path on how to fix them. I need to sit down. I need to sit down from the stage, from the pulpit, and I need to get my life together before I think about standing on this pulpit in front of the people and speak again. And that's what I did. And What blew me away was the people that I spoke to after they got done listening to me and they got done listening to my wife. They said, Pastor Robinson, you go do that, and we're going to keep this up and running for you. We would prefer that you and your wife stay married. But if you do not, we will still be here. And that blew me away. But that's not the end of the story. And I want you to understand something. I'm not putting information out there. I could say so much more, but I choose not to. I'm not trying to make anybody look bad. I don't want you to take that anyway. It's been 9 years and I've said nothing about this situation to anybody. This is the first time that you are publicly hearing it from my mouth. So this is not about attention. This is not about making anybody look bad, but I want you to understand the gravity of what I'm getting ready to tell you next. So after that meeting, and they said what they said, my wife at the time, getting ready to be my ex-wife, pulled me into a room and she said something to me that was going to change the course of everything, which has led us to this point to where we are at now. So now, let's fast forward. I was sitting in this exact chair. Remember, I was telling you I wake up every morning at 4:30 a.m., grab a cup of tea, and then I'll meditate for about 20 minutes. Go over a lot of positive affirmations. And this particular morning, about a week and a half, 2 weeks ago, it's weird for me to even describe it to you, but it was almost like I was teleported or I was put in a time machine, and I was in that very same room that when my wife at the time, soon to be ex-wife, pulled me into the room, and it was just me and her. And it's like I was there. I was physically there. I saw myself standing there and I saw her standing there. It was the craziest experience that I've ever experienced in my life. And during these meditations, I'm like, what is my purpose? What am I supposed to be doing? And as I sat there and I watched myself standing almost 9 years ago, like it was yesterday, and all I heard was the words that she told me that day after we had that meeting. And them words were, Taiwan, if you do not remain married to me, I am going to make sure you never stand on another stage in front of anybody else. And just like that, gone. I was back here. And I sat here and I thought on what I just witnessed. And it was so crazy to me. I want you to think about something. If you're angry and you're upset with somebody and you are trying to get back at them, what would you do? I mean, there's many things that you could do, but there was one thing that was targeted in on, and that was to make sure you never get up and speak again in front of anybody. And at that very moment, I knew what my purpose was. And I accepted it. And this is how I'm back to the place of going back into speaking. But it's not going to be speaking like I came up in, to where it's only church. It's only to a certain group and a certain crowd of people. I am not going to take a title. The only title that I'm going to carry is motivational speaker. I've already have doors open to where I go into businesses and I get to speak. And I go into schools and I get to speak. And a few church doors open where I get to speak And this is something that I'm very excited about because I know within the depth of me that this is my purpose. This is a gift that I was given to stand up and to speak in front of people. And I wanted to put it out there on YouTube and put it out in the social media atmosphere so people understand of what's getting ready to come next. And this is for all of my Bible thumpers that are familiar with what it says in the Bible about Moses being driven out. And then when Moses finally returned, he was a problem. And I know that everything that happened from 9 years ago up until this point has prepared me for what comes next. And here's the amazing thing, and it's not about the income, but when I looked and went back and I looked at the number that I wrote down originally last year in November, I looked at that number and I said, that number is way too small. And it blew me away that the guy that told me this, it's like he knew exactly what was going to happen. And it still boggles me. It just blows me away that I've gotten to this point. Because I told myself I would never, ever again stand up and speak in front of anybody else. But I guess life and God had something different for me. So I want you guys I'm very excited. And I look forward to doing this. And I look forward to carrying you guys on this journey with me. It's going to be some amazing things that transpire. Thank you so much for listening. I love you. And I expect nothing but big things. Stay blessed. Peace.